I don't care what Ghana and Egypt are saying. They're just talking for their pockets. Nigeria is winning it, and Cameroon is just here, so will be plenty. Anyways, I think I think if he stays on, a few tweaks here and there, and the team is good to go. So I think for 2019, if we let it be, he'll stay. But my disappointment so far has been the politicking in Nigeria. I mean, even from Russia, they've already said the politics about we need to change the NFF president. They've said from Russia. I mean, there were some people that were celebrating Nigeria's loss to Croatia and Nigeria's loss to Argentina, because it would give the vision to push out maybe the NFF president or the coach. I mean, it's so ridiculous. After a loss like that, you come out and say, we would have won. Argentina would have come out of the group. We would even have gone to the semi-final if we had a better tactical coach. You need to get some wisdom. This sports minister that we have, the first thing we need to do is get you out, because you are part of the problem.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
So he comes on, and the first thing he starts doing is criticizing the coach. And I think that criticism is is not just for the coach, but those that employ the coach. So that's why I say the politicking will not let us progress in this country.
Yeah.
And the sports minister hasn't covered himself in glory. He needs to hide himself in shame.
Here's a question as well, though. But we do have a technical team that has been with the Super Eagles for longer than Rohr. Do we not? Do we not have other supporting coaches? I mean, what is their role?
They have a technical team, but I know the technical team.
Okay.
It's what you've had for a while.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's nothing fantastic.
Nothing exciting.
So it's still that leadership as the coach that we're looking for.
I mean, Gareth did make a few mistakes, but I say this as a coach. Sometimes when you get into the battlefield, you like to stick with the familiar people. So I would have expected, for me, because Brian Idoru's wing was a bit under pressure. That's the wing that Messi and Pavon were on. So there's two men putting pressure on one Brian Ido that was already shaky, and then Ahmed Musa was playing up front. He did try up front. I would have said, send him in some help. I would have said pack the midfield and leave only Odio Igalo up front. So no need to concede goals. So I would have done a few things, but you can say that from your couch.
Exactly.
It's very convenient to say that from your bench. None of you have job. But most coaches will stick to tools they know. Yeah.
All right. The question we did ask is whether or not you guys think out there that Gernot Rohr should stay. So do keep sending in your comments. Chima B. Victor is first in with his. He says, for me, Gernot Rohr should stay, but he does need to work on his tactics because he doesn't know when to substitute, and that is his weak point. But as an ambassador, I have to endorse him to retain his job. Uche ambassador. Tony says, guys, a coach that loses a match for 4 minutes to go shows technical ineptitude, period. He could stay on as coach and motivator, but we need a good technical advisor, says Tony. While Ade says, let him stay. Give him a number 2, that local that can grow under him. Also, met the Amaju board, stay.
Also let the Amaju
board say that he's done a great job. The man is already in line for the African FIFA seat. We need to keep politics out of our football. And Kelly from Lekki says our coach should stay no matter what. All this sack don't do a big. Leave him to develop on what he has built. I'm sure he will do well in the next World Cup. But before he came, I'm not too sure that we had a coach in Nigeria that would have qualified us to the World Cup. I think that's another question that people have. While Hammond says, I really feel sorry for the African teams except for Nigeria. Hammond, we've warned you before, but he says, I was expecting the elimination. Senegal was so close, but well, I now know what FIFA stands for. Football isn't for Africa. Well, except Ghana. Black Stars. Where are you now? And then Daniel Fleming Cotton says the coach should stay, but he does need to bring in some young players and let some guys go.
Interesting. All right, move on now. Deontay Wilder's contract for the Anthony Joshua fight is still live, and the unification clash can be staged at Wembley on April 13, says Anthony Joshua's promoter, Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn told reporters, Anthony Joshua has got 4 World Championship belts. Deontay Wilder has got 1. We're going to make him a new belt. It's called the Instagram World Champion. Now we get to see the truth. He continues, they seem so devastated about not getting the Anthony Joshua fights, and we definitely do not want the fight. The contract is still live, it's still valid. It's sitting on the manager's desk. Apparently, you only had 2 minor comments that you couldn't even send to us. So send them now. or sign the contract. I will sign the contract before your ink goes dry. April 13th at Wembley Stadium. The Wilder can give the fans what they want, so do not worry about us. Certainly do not worry about Anthony Joshua. He will fight any man.
Okay, so here it is. And this is I was waiting for this paper if I made mine. So after Joshua was well mandated by the WA to fight a defense against Povetkin, Deontay Wilder came to say that it was that Anthony Joshua and Eddie Hearn are chickening out. That's why they don't want to fight him. And Eddie Hearn is saying, you know what, we have to fight this fight because it's the board that told us to fight it. It's not that we don't want to fight it. But if you insist you must fight, April 13th is still open. And the truth of the matter is, they had agreed to a contract. So it's not like he said, okay, I'm going to take the money you're offering, I'm going to fight in England, and they changed their mind. I remember reading that story here where they both said, okay, we're going to have this fight. So it's not them chickening out, it's just that they have a compulsory fight that the Boxing Federation has said, you must fight. And that's why they said they're giving him a motion now. You don't have to, it must not be, but you can fight next year because we now have a mandatory fight to fulfill. So we have that contract. It's just that the timing will change. So stop talking on Instagram. Sign the paper and get in the ring.
Alrighty. He's heard you. Speaking of things we've heard, we do have to go on a very quick break just before we do this. Comment in from ZZ Classic on WhatsApp says, all the African countries in this year's World Cup are like English clubs in the Champions League, always struggling to go past the group stage. And meanwhile, Germany went to Russia 3 times unprepared. First in World War One, second in World War Two, and third in World Cup 2018. It seems like they never learned from the past. Oh dear. We'll be back after this break. Keep listening.
This is IBK Spaceship Boy.
Why is this television? I knew there was something weird. Lakumi! TV no.
Sorry.
Did it work?
Thank you.
He's a novice in this thing.
Did it work?
We'll say he's novice.
Well done.
All feel the pressure.
Yes, Valentine. Well,
Thank you. Do you have what it takes to be the next champion? Be a part of
Yeah, yellow
Okay, we
face.
have a long this break.
and play against your legends.
I think we'll rush through the stories. What's next? Okay. Lewis Hamilton and this job.
It won't let you down.
Printed on.
Lakumi!
You guys need to check this thing. I don't know what the story says. Can you see if we can pull it up? Is it Lewis Hamilton defends Sebastian Vettel?
Okay.
What site?
I think it's really
3-in-1 step. 1. Go to your neighborhood supermarket. 2. Buy a pouch of 10 Nescafe 3-in-1 sachets and get an extra sachet free. 3. Scratch the card you find within the pouch and you could be a winner.
This is what?
Progress is 3 steps away. Get started with Nescafe.
Parents, are you looking for a safe, top-ranked, affordable, and nurturing environment for your child to study their degree in the USA? Louisiana
really.
State University ranks in the top 2% of all universities in the
If I
USA,
never
with
go.
over 235 academic fields of
That's
study
good.
to offer. Your
That's
child
bad.
is guaranteed to find the right course. No SAT, no English test, and quick admission for this August
This one,
intake is available. Partial scholarships are still available.
Yeah.
Call
Is it this one?
092-906-508, 092-906-508, or email
Okay, found it.
Africa
That's
at
it. That's the story.
lsuglobal.com now to apply for August intake at LSU. Create your future.
Mommy, what does whole flick mean?
Whole fleet.
This is advert. Sorry.
It means
Second page.
Yep.
eat your breakfast and swallow. Eat your mouthful.
Cornflakes is the natural process of making cornflakes just like Nasco does. With unripe corn that is flaked whole to retain all the natural goodness. So next time you're eating cornflakes, make sure it's whole flaked Nasco cornflakes. Nasco cornflakes, nourishing goodness anytime.
It's always too cliche. I'm telling you, he was standing beside the Belgian
Sorry,
class.
guys.
They're all looking poor. It was looking so
Sweet boy.
You understand?
We're back in studio. Yes, you should keep listening to Smooth 98.1. It is your Love Music, Love Life station. And right now we are talking sports inside the locker room on Smooth Breakfast with Valentine.
And Folu.
And of course, Tega Onojaife joining us, but she's also Tega Supreme up on Twitter. Up next, we've got to talk about Lewis Hamilton, who says that title rival Sebastian Vettel should not be condemned for causing a crash at the start of Sunday's French Grand Prix because they're besties. He goes on to say, I feel like Sebastian needs criticizing. He's a 4-time world champion and has won more than most. Everyone jumps at one single fault from any of us. Now, Thursday's media day for the weekend's Austrian Grand Prix, Hamilton said people jump on the bandwagon and they love to talk negative about someone. It's a strange scenario when a split-second decision result as it did, yet a penalty of 5 seconds doesn't appear to be significant enough. But that is the rules, and it is a penalty nonetheless, and he served it and has moved on. All right, supporting his
Nanda is your friend. This is romance that people are having. Better go and
He's
fight
like,
for
leave my
championship.
friend alone, leave my friend alone.
Better fight and make it interesting. I said he had said it again. 5-second penalty is not enough. Because last week I remember him saying that if you knock somebody, if you cause the crash, that takes somebody out of the race even for a brief moment, that you shouldn't finish ahead of the person. And now he's saying don't criticize him. They've made up, Abby. He'll be all right. But this weekend gives Mercedes an opportunity to showcase again the upgrade in their engine. What would they really be able to do in Austria? Would Ferrari be able to catch up? Would Red Bull have their cars together? That's what we want to know. But it will be interesting to see because they're now back-to-back races this weekend, and if you fall behind, crashing into Bottas. Ferrari also would like to push. It's now a 14-point gap between Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. You don't want that gap to grow any wider. So it sets for an interesting fight. But this one that they already decided with bromance at the media conference, I'm not even enjoying it. I want to fight, go neck and neck, But now they're supporting each other. Let's hold hands and sing Kumbaya. I'm not understanding it. It's not making it interesting for me. Fight.
All right, we've got messages very quickly. Big T says, first of all, I know it's a sports show, but can I just take a moment to say rest in peace to all those involved in the tanker fire? Thank you very much for that, Big T. But says for now sports, Germany under Coach Low have gone so low. So our ouster isn't that bad after all, says Big T.
Oh, the difference is that Low actually won them the Confederations Cup and the World Cup.
Yeah,
they are not like him.
Let's not shout. So I'm not in the same.
They can go home and mourn these loss, but they have a shiny. They have two shiny trophies to look at.
Still, it's very nice.
You have none.
Please, let's get
So Senegal's coach Aliou Cisse said he accepted the rules of the game as the West Africans were eliminated from the World Cup due to a worse disciplinary record than their direct rivals for a place on the last 16. Cisse said, it's the law of football. We did not qualify because we earned more yellow cards, but I'm proud of my lads. They've worked hard for this tournament, and I think we've showed that we can have a bright future. He said his players were aware of the rules and refused to tell them to adapt to their game accordingly. It's the rules of the game. They've been established by FIFA, and we have to respect it, even though we would have liked to have been eliminated another way, he said.
Yeah, I first of all, I totally say that Africa needs to learn how to play in competitions. It's not everything that's racism, and the referees didn't give us penalty.
Yeah,
that's not.
There's nothing special.
Yeah, we as a continent, we need to approach competitions a little better. It's not a marathon; it's a sprint. If you don't start well, you find out that you're the end. You're the last person, and that's what it is. Africans, we don't know how to compete. And number one thing that always gives us away from USA 94 till now is that game management. You know that you need all Senegal needed was a draw. Now, because you need a draw doesn't necessarily mean that you play for a draw. But there's how you compose yourself. Losing composition towards the end of the game when you don't even have enough time to recover. Even if from the beginning of the game, you don't want to do that. But losing composition when it's towards the end of the game and you don't have enough time to recover. A lot of African countries did that. A lot of African countries conceded goals in the last 15 minutes, 10 minutes of games. And that is so poor, especially for countries like Nigeria, Senegal that really just needed draws. So it's poor game management. For Senegal, their biggest problem did not come yesterday. It came against Japan. Twice they led twice they let Japan come in. And the second goal that they conceded from Japan was totally unnecessary. They didn't even have to be in that kind of place, and they conceded. And then they come into this game needing a draw, and they concede again against Colombia. So it's for Africa, they need to learn how to approach this tournament. But for Cisse, it's just so sad being the first team to be eliminated by fair play, discipline again. So at the end of the day, you see how those yellow cards become very important.
Yes.
We used to look at them in terms of suspension of major players, but now
You can see
it determines
your destiny.
who went through the same African problem, who approach to competitions.
Yeah.
Idea. More messages very quickly. Zach from Ikoyi says, let him stay to and lack of unity amongst these players. I hope we have a united squad in the future, says Elzak from Ikoyi. Interesting. While this one is in from Sharif Uluwale Kakimbi, who says, as for Senegal, they're like that girl your parents tell you about in secondary school that you should emulate because they're holy and then they go on to get pregnant at the end of the day. Wow. He does go on, though, to say that African teams cannot play for 90 minutes on the world stage. They don't have the mental strength. Interesting.
I think you do.
Let's move on. Gareth Southgate is willing to accept any criticism. He said, when you're a manager, you've got to make decisions that are right for your group and are right for the primary objective. Sometimes those decisions will be criticized, and I understand that, but only one person has to make that decision with the full facts and the intricacies of managing a group and a tournament.
Yes,
We're just talking about this.
I totally agree. But in this case with the English, I don't think it was a question of the selection he made, because I know that people have come out with knives and arrows to take aim at him. Look, he had qualified, and yes, the group stage, the group leader position was up for grabs, but he needed to rest some of his players, especially as some of his key players for the next round were carrying knocks. Belgium also rested some of their players. Did you see Lukaku running around? The hazard that was on the pitch was not the real hazard. It was Yaba hazard. It wasn't. I don't know how else to tell it to you. But they rested players. The difference was that their bench came through for them when the English bench did not come through. And for those of you that always argue, why don't you start Marcus Rashford? You saw the exact reason why they didn't start it. Had an open chance, blew it. That was Jamie Vardy or Harry Kane. It was a goal. And I know he's younger, so he still needs time to grow. But at the same time, you should accord him to grow. Don't use it to kill the coach that doesn't play him off. The coach knows what he sees. But moving forward to that result, Gareth Southgate did everything right. His selection was on point. He needed to do that. It's just that bench didn't come through for him like they should have. So now they get to face Colombia. Nobody wants Colombia. I mean, they started out the World Cup in a poor state, getting the fastest red card, then getting beat in a set piece by the Japanese. Nobody saw that coming. But they ended up topping their group at the end of the day. They ended up getting the results. Yes, James Rodriguez is injured and he may not be able to make it to the game against England, but they still have, that's the thing about that team, they still have enough factors to come up with results. So yes, England would rather be facing Japan, but they have to prepare for Colombia. There's nothing they can do now. They finished second. There's nothing they can do.
All right.
Joachim Low says Germany have lost everything we've built, in his words, and deflected questions on his own future after the World Cup exit. We do not deserve to win the World Cup, and we do not deserve to move to the last 16, he said. We're eliminated. We never had a chance really to take the lead at any point. Those past years, since 2006, we've been in the final four, the final, or even one. But this time around, we have to say that we've not put in a performance like normal. We have to accept that. The disappointment of being eliminated is huge. Where do we go from here, you ask? We'll have to go from here. It will have been premature for me to say anything at this point, but we'll talk calmly about it.
I think ultimately they're going to have to sit down. There was nothing wrong with the personnel of the German team. They have the personnel. I think what it was the system and the build-up. The German team, I know, used to have good build-up. So the defenders will pass the ball gradually to the midfielders, and then the midfielders will pass to the strikers. But I think with the growth of midfielders in Germany, their football became a bit more predictable. Because what happens is, what used to be 5 touches to goal for Germany became 15 touches to no goals for Germany. Because what it is Ozil gets the ball and passes it to Gundogan, who now passes it to Marco Reus, who now passes it back to Timo Werner. By the time the ball gets to Gomez, all 11 players of the other team have blocked every access to scoring a goal. So there were too many touches. I think it was their build-up. They were not as swift, they were not as mobile, they didn't move their ball quickly, they had one too many touches, and they were not using all their options. And so it's not, I don't think it's necessarily the team that needs to be changed. I think it's the system that they were playing that brought them to where they are. So I think they're going to really sit down and think about it. Even the sporting, I mean, Germany had that team, that group of people that are sitting up there and analyzing the game, with ex-internationals, analyzing the game on how Germany moved and what was the problem there. So trust me, they are going to go back home now after everybody's finished fighting in the media, and they're going to sit down, build a team, and come back and win, which is why I'm not sorry for them, because they can come back next 4 years and win the World Cup.
Sure.
So they should rest, let someone else win it.
All right. Let's take a quick break. Just before we do, Nathan Njoku tweeted at us to say a sports minister that quote unquote spended more time dressing like a Boy Scout than actually being a sports minister. Rohr should stay, but the team needs rejigging. While Chijoke Zundu also tweets and says Africa has got good footballers in and around the globe, but they lack good management. Thus, a poor World Cup outing. We'll be back with the final few minutes of sports inside the locker room right after this break.
Hi, my name is Femile. For 7 days in
Germany.
I always listen
They'll
to
be fine, Jerry.
for the best jazz.
Let's see what else we.
Smooth 98.1.
Mr. Promoter should just fix this fight fancy. Joshua can knock this guy out.
A vacation, further education, a business perhaps.
That'd be nice.
Started with Nescafe. Stand a chance to win $1 million and other cash prizes when you buy a Nescafe 3-in-1 pouch. Winning is an easy
I think I'll stick
3-in-1.
for Anne.
Go to your neighborhood supermarket. 2, buy a pouch of 10 Nescafe 3-in-1 sachets and get an extra sachet free. 3, scratch the card you find within the pouch and you could be a winner. Progress is 3 steps away. Get started with Nescafe.
Football. 22 players, 2 linesmen, and 4 billion refs. But whether the game goes your way or not, Uber is the smart way to get to and the
They
bar
did this
or
in
your
East
friend's
Africa.
house. We are rapid minutes, and you don't have to worry about parking, so you won't miss a moment. And you can celebrate knowing there is a
I
sober
need gum.
driver
Do you have
behind
chewing gum,
the
like
wheel.
me?
Plus, you can add
No,
stops
because I know Folu never has
so you
gum.
can pick up extra players. Ride with Uber when you head out to catch the game.
I need to build.
Where to?
Whenever you need help.
I drank so much water. Okay, no, I drank a lot of water. Then my stomach was full and I couldn't belch. So I was like, gas. So I now went to take more ice block, a glass of ice block. Then I was like, this is not working. And I took ACV in my water.
Yeah,
And my
straight
stomach is now
away.
bloated. I need to belch. Like
Yes.
I feel like I need to just
get it out.
I haven't eaten. This one I'm not eating food.
Sorry.
Sit today. See, I'm smiling with my
I
newly,
swear.
my freshly
I don't even know whether to
brushed
be
teeth.
happy about the smile or not.
Thank you.
I'll be downstairs.
Well,
I'm supposed to start with Che, sorry. Then I'm
it's not going to
also
arrive during
supposed
Lagos
to
talk.
do
It's not going to arrive during
Yeah.
and
Lagos
send me.
It's a lie.
No,
You are
no,
not running
No,
anywhere.
I'm actually
Stay
not
there.
running. You guys
have
don't
nothing to
make
do
me
downstairs.
stay
It's a lie.
all the time.
not sure, darling.
I'm expecting some white.
Yes, all
No,
like
you're not expecting anything. You're staying. Give it. No.
Hard-boiled eggs,
Uh,
That's my boy.
Did you know that 90% of brain growth occurs in the first 5 years of a child's life? Pick 4, 5, 6
I still don't believe you.
especially formulated.
So I don't understand. I'm lying because of Lagos Talks production.
production.
No, tell me exactly why I'm lying.
Please. We're in a bag. Studio, mics are up. Oh yes, let us love you just right. You are listening, of course, to Sports Inside the Locker Room for the last few minutes. Valentine's in the studio with myself,
Folu?
and of course Tega Onojaife, aka Tega Supreme. Our final story has to do with Messi, where Argentina captain Lionel Messi has said that his side's next round of 16 match against France is going to be very difficult. He says, we watch France's every match. They've got a strong team, excellent players in every position. They're explosive, they're fast, and some I knew from Barcelona, and I know how to play against them. But the match is not going to be easy, Messi said. But tell you guys, any match been easy for this Argentinian side recently?
No,
they're not the best side.
Yeah, from qualifying to the World Cup, they've struggled where a lot of people thought it was going to be easy. But I think part of the problem is that half that team is aging, the other half don't really have the quality, and then they have 4 guys up front with no supply. For me, I think I was more disappointed with the Argentina loss than I was with the Croatia loss, because in that group I really did think that we could take Argentina. This Argentina team, I really did think, Messi or no Messi, we could take Argentina. Unfortunately, we didn't take advantage of the loopholes that they had. Somebody missed some chances. Somebody else was falling over the place. But going to France now, I think they're a better side. They're a younger side. They have some quality players, and like Messi said, they have good players all over the pitch. So yes, it's going to be tough for Argentina. But again, the French still have not shown me that they are World Cup contenders yet. They've shown me that they have good players. They've shown me that they can win a few matches. Yeah. But I still see some weaknesses there that have to do with character and mentality that Argentina can take care of. So yes, it's going to be a tough one. I hope France comes out.
All right. Well, I will be watching that game. I'll just have each cheek painted a different flag, just depending on how the outcome goes. But to round up, Wengus sent a message on WhatsApp to say, unfortunately, African football teams don't know how to play for the result that they need. I think that African football is overrated. Harsh words there, harsh words. While Chester from Okota says, did you see the way the Senegalese guy was standing at Kimbo from when the corner kick was taken to when the ball was nodded into the net? Clearly quite upset by that one. And Aki from Ikorodu, just to round up, says, one of our best technical advisors in Nigerian football history was Clemens Oesterhoff, who was on a long-term contract with our football association. So let's give Gernot Rohr a chance on a long-term basis. Hashtag Rohr for second term, says Aki.
Interesting.
On that note, we end. Tega, thank you very much for your time and your knowledge this morning that you've shared with us. You can continue to find that knowledge up on Twitter at Tega Supreme as a handle. And in the last hour of Smooth Breakfast, we will just be sitting and listening to great music. So get ready to join us and call us up right here inside the studio. It's Smooth Breakfast with Valentine.
Hey, your dancing is whack. Go and press stop. I can imagine Valentine trying to dance
no,
in
standing
the club. The girl will be like, what's wrong with you? Valentine, do you dance?
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Let's play music so you dance for us. So yeah.